The 800-pound gorilla staring Sean Payton straight in the face is who is going to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos next year. When that's figured out, we got to figure out a solution at tight end. We know Sean Payton's offense hinges on that. But after you answer those first two questions, the next biggest thing facing the Denver Broncos is we need to bring in another cornerback. While that seemed like a position of strength for the Denver Broncos, in this video, I'm going to break down why we need to find another cornerback, the best options that we see in this year's NFL draft, best options we might have in free agency, and some potential trades that can happen. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben, and I break down all things Denver sports, so let's dive in. So the big news that we heard yesterday was that Vic Fangio and the Philadelphia Eagles stole one of our most coveted coaches, a young coach, Parker, who a lot of people said is an up-and-comer in the NFL who could be a signal caller on the defensive side of the ball very, very soon. And he left for the Philadelphia Eagles. So we automatically are losing a pivotal coach that we have who has gotten an extreme amount of talent. And as I have shown mock drafts, one of the comments that keeps coming up is, hey, we got Surtain and McMillian. Like, we have two great corners. Why do we need another one? Why are the Broncos picking a corner in these mock drafts? And I found this stat that I just found was incredible. A huge shout out to Sharp Football here, who goes through offensive formations and ranks the most used formations by NFL teams. And so you see here, this first column is amount of times that you see an NFL offense run 3 wide receiver sets, 2 wide receiver sets, obviously 2 wide receivers and a tight end going out for passes. And then the really the thing that gets called in Madden way more than in real life, which is a 5 wide out set. So looking here, that the very bulk of plays for every single team in the NFL is 3 wide receiver sets. And you can look at our biggest rival is that the Kansas City Chiefs, like almost all the time, 67%, I guess that's not almost all the time, but that's a lot of time, are running 3 wide receiver sets. And when Pat Surtain is just lined up on one side of the field, you could stack your 2 best wideouts on the other side of the field, and unless he is shadowing them, which is an automatic tip-off that we are in a man defense, which gives Patrick Mahomes an incredible advantage, knowing that if he sees Pat Surtain trailing someone, he knows right away that's man coverage, and that changes what he does and who he keys on. And so most of the time in the NFL, teams are lining up in a 3 wideout look, which means if you have 3 great corners, that is a fantastic thing to have. That Pat Surtain is great, but he essentially shuts down one side of the field. And then what we saw this year was that McMillian played amazing as that second wideout, but our third wideout position was the one that we really struggled with. And so really cool article here on Mile High Report, which breaks down the Denver Broncos cornerback position, which again, it's a really strong room. But the interesting thing that they broke down was the big drop-off that we had after Ja'Quan. Obviously, Surtain, all-pro, voted on by his own teammates. You had multiple dudes at the Pro Bowl say not only is he an all-pro, but he's the best at the position. A really cool thing to say. But look at all of these guys who are only under contract through next season. And the big thing that I see looking at this is that our undrafted free agent, Ja'Quan McMillian, he's done. He's off of his contract at the end of next season, which means the Denver Broncos are going to have to pay him. And we know that we're in a cap issue right now. The other person who's done with his contract after next year, who we definitely need to figure out, is Surtain. So we got 2 corners. My hunch is that the Denver Broncos are going to have a hard time finding the cash to extend both of those guys. So while we have 2 great corners now, I showed you the data that most NFL teams are lining up in a 3 wideout set. So we really need 3. And we're probably going to lose one of our top 2 next year. And so all these mock drafts that have the Broncos, have the best corner in the draft falling to the Broncos at 12, that would be a great thing, because then you have another stud. And then if we find a way to pay both of those dudes right there, we have our solution, right? We have 3 awesome corners. So yeah, if you look at this mock draft, for example, has the Chargers picking Terrion from Alabama, and then has Wiggins from Clemson falling to us. So we would get the second best corner in the NFL draft. I think that would be a great thing at that point. If the number one corner is already off the board, I think it would be a better move and would behoove the Broncos to maybe go elsewhere with that 12 or trade down and get a corner a little further back, because I do think if at 12 you can get the best player at a position depending on how the draft plays out. So that's kind of interesting. So Ja'Quan really stepped up for us, but again, his contract ends at the end of this upcoming season, and so does Surtain. It's going to be really hard with our cap to fit both of these dudes under it. So who could we find to help us out? The other interesting thing is, someone was talking about just different types of corners and why if Terrion were to be able to fall to us, like what he does that Pat Surtain doesn't. And I'm not by any means saying that the Madden ratings are gospel or anything, but what I like about them is they have former NFL players who are doing these ratings. These ratings are updated based on performance after each game. And one of the interesting things, you look at Pat Surtain, he is an absolute beast in man coverage and in zone coverage. And as a cover corner, you won't find somebody better than he is. But if you look at his tackle grade, he is only a 69 ranked tackle. And so when I say, like, Pat Surtain is obviously the best in the league, this is not a critique of him whatsoever. But if you were to look at the difference between him and like a Richard Sherman wasn't as good in coverage, but was a good run stopper and delivered massive hits. And for all those people in the comments who've said, well, Pat Surtain can tackle, he's a sure tackler, but think back to all of our years as Broncos fans. When was one time you've seen Pat Surtain make like a crushing hit or cause a fumble or any of that? And frankly, I don't want him to do that. Like every time I see him like in physical situations, I'm just like, please don't get hurt. I want him to shut down half of the field because dudes are afraid to throw at him. And so if somehow we could find a free agent, a drafted corner, or a corner we trade for who could help and be a massive bone crushing tackler, that could be a really cool thing. So one of the rumors out there is that the Denver Broncos would trade Jerry Jeudy. That would save us on the salary cap. And one of the rumors is that we could trade him for J.C. Horn. So imagine that, to have J.C. Horn, Pat Surtain, and Ja'Quan McMillian, just like that. You're in a 3 wide receiver set, and who are you going to throw to? Because you got amazing cover corners on all your wideouts. That's incredible. So that could be a really good thing. I also think that depending on who the Broncos have playing quarterback next year, that if it is Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy doesn't always fit with him. Like, I think Jerry Jeudy would play incredible for like a quarterback, like an on-time thrower of the ball, like, a Peyton Manning, and a purely pocket passer who hits the guy as soon as he pops open. We've covered that a lot on this channel, that Russell Wilson, not dogging him whatsoever, but he and Jerry Jeudy are not the perfect match. And so if we are able to trade Jerry Jeudy for J.C. Horn, I would be all about it, because then with the 12th pick, you don't need to go corner because you got 3 dudes. Other things that we kind of see here is looking at some of the different free agents who have been popping up and what might happen with them and their different grades. First one is Jalen Johnson. While he is a free agent, all of the rumors are saying that the Chicago Bears are going to find a way to bring him back. So we might not have a chance with that. We might not be able to outpay. Although the interesting thing is that because of how much cash we have, one of the things that we can do is offer a massive signing bonus, and the signing bonus gets equally spread out over the life of the contract. And so this is where having the richest owner in sports helps you out, because you can bring in free agents and it does not hurt your cap as much as if we were just to sign these dudes to 1-year deals. And so looking here, this would be a really cool thing. Jalen Johnson, you look at his coverage grades, that if the quarterback is forced to throw in 3 seconds or less, all of a sudden he's at a 90 grade there, which is amazing, right? 100 being perfect, meaning no one catches on him. And so 90 is awesome. His forced incompletion rate, almost 17%. And when he's in single coverage, 68%. So he Obviously, he's not Pat Surtain, but that is a really cool thing. So if we could find a way to get him, that would be awesome. Snead, who we're going to see this week with the Super Bowl, is a pretty big drop-off from what we see here with Jalen Johnson. But again, a very, very doable one. Another one that we have heard rumored is, could we get Kendall Fuller from the Washington Commanders? And again, Kendall Fuller is a dude who's bounced around a couple places, but is a very, very capable corner. The one that would be interesting to me, just as a fan of all Colorado, I'm equally a fan of the CSU Rams and of the Colorado Buffaloes, just because I didn't go either place, and so I'm like, I cheer for them both. But bringing Awuzie back to the Denver metro area would be a really cool thing as a former Buffalo, and he had some injuries, and so he didn't always live up to his performance. But if you hear how former Buffaloes talk about him, how his current teammates talk about him, like a really, really good option there. So that would be very cool. 3 great free agent possibilities there. And again, because of the amount of cash that we could offer in a signing bonus, it would not crush us cap-wise like it would other places. So if we look at actual, not the mock draft, but if we look at the big board and see the best available corners, what we see here is we got Terrion Arnold, number 1. Again, I think the big thing that we have with him is that he would provide run stopping and helping with that. If he could fall to us at 12, a lot of mock drafts have him going to the Chargers earlier than us. And then we have the Iowa defensive back, and we got Nate Wiggins, who the Denver Broncos are rumored to pick in a couple mock drafts. So all that would be extremely interesting to see how that plays out. Very curious to hear, how would you all feel about the Denver Broncos finding the cornerback of the future in the NFL draft, or would you just be furious that we did not draft a quarterback? Very curious to hear what you all have to say. Broncos country, let's always giddy up.